At an airfield on Luzon, Japanese pilots are assembled for a unique mission.
Japanese pilots at the beginning of the war were the cream of the crop, elite, hand-selected and carefully trained. But by this point in the war, Japan just doesn't have the time or the resources to train its pilots.
The Japanese military leadership has to make a tough decision to make a cost-efficient way of destroying American enemy ships. And one way to do it is to undertake one-way flight that will end with the crashing of a plane.
This new unit of 24 pilots, led by 23-year-old Lieutenant Yukio Seiki, is Japan's first organized special attack unit. They will soon become known as kamikaze, the divine wind.
So the kamikaze in some ways represents a perversion of traditional Japanese Bushido doctrine. The samurai code, this idea of sacrificing one's life for Japan and for the emperor.
It's hard to generalize about their motivations. You find some of them saying, I'm doing this for the emperor. Other pilots talk about their village. They talk about families and they say, I'm doing this for you. For the Japanese, what they're doing was not regarded as suicide. It's a death in combat. So it's this sense that these young men are becoming something really special, that almost to give this level of self-sacrifice makes you a samurai.
Roosevelt meets with British Prime Minister Winston Churchill in Malta to discuss the strategy for ending the war in Europe and in the Pacific.
The question is, if we have an enemy willing to sacrifice young men in kamikaze attacks, an enemy that seems willing to fight on beyond reason, how are we going to bring this to an end?
Roosevelt's advisors are arguing that the Japanese will not give up. This war will not end until there is actually an invasion of the home islands.
Churchill and Roosevelt are in Malta on the way to Yalta early in 1945, and this is where Operation Downfall first crystallizes, an invasion of Japan.
At first, the Marines are ordered to take Iwo Jima.
Japan has an airfield on Iwo Jima, and as the B-29s start operating out of Saipan and the Marianas, they're using it to spot the B-29 formations on their radar scopes.
Iwo Jima becomes a logical place to, first of all, remove something from the Japanese control. Second, don't allow them to have any Japanese fighter on there or early warning systems. And third, for all those B-29s that are making those long flights, over 1,200 miles, it creates a place to land if they have engine trouble, if they run into any difficulties.
So Iwo Jima's got to go. That needs to become an American airfield.
The Navy bombarded Japanese positions for 3 days. Now the Marines plan to land 60,000 men across Iwo Jima's southern beaches, push north, and take the island.
So at 8:59 on the 19th of February, the first 10,000 men land. And it's quiet. But then at 10 o'clock in the morning, every Japanese soldier with a mortar, machine gun, or a piece of artillery will now start to shell the landing beach.
In the face of withering fire, the Marines struggle up dunes of 15 feet or more.
Iwo Jima is not sand, it's volcanic ash. Your feet just sink up to your knees. It's like walking in coffee grounds. it's incredibly deadly to try and move forward.
Bulldozers are called in to clear a path through the dunes, allowing the Marines to continue their advance.
Ultimately, one of the greatest weapons that the Marines have is what they'd call Zippo tanks, which are tank-sized flamethrowers that can shoot long distances, and that becomes the weapon of choice for Marines on Iwo Jima.
By the end of the first day, the Marines have secured an airfield and prepare to attack Mount Suribachi.
On Iwo Jima, two strategies come into conflict. One says no surrender, that's the Japanese, and then unconditional surrender, and that's the American position. And on Suribachi, the Americans make a determined statement that it's going to be unconditional surrender. There is no position on planet Earth held by the Japanese army that American troops cannot take.
After securing the beaches, U.S. Marines on Iwo Jima attack Mount Suribachi.
The force that goes up the hill fights off Japanese resistance. And upon reaching the summit, they find a water pipe that had been associated with a Japanese cistern. They attach a small American flag to that water pipe, and then they raise that flag.
But they realize the flag's too small. We need a bigger flag. So what they're going to do is they're going to take a ship's flag and they're going to send it up there, and about noon it gets up there.
6 Marines plant the second American flag. Joe Rosenthal, an Associated Press photographer, captures the moment.
All the ships offshore begin blowing their horns. Everyone on the island can see it.
It's a snapshot in time. The composition is nearly perfect, although he basically shoots it off his hip without even using his rangefinder as he did it. You can't see anybody's face. And so really it becomes everybody's picture.
It's American determination embodied in a single photograph.
They're all working together. And so it tells a national story. It's not just those guys on top of the hill that raised the flag. It's a nation that put that flag on top of the hill.
After victory on Iwo Jima, the Marine Corps sends 3 surviving flag raisers back to Washington. But they will not meet their president.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tragic news of the president's death came to Washington today as a complete shock, except to a very few people who knew of his condition.
Franklin Roosevelt had loomed so large for so long. An entire generation of Americans really only knew him as their president.
Roosevelt had been a very, very active president, a very, very powerful personality, the kind of caretaker to the people. And he knew you can't fight an endless war if you want to maintain your democratic ideals. But he also knew how difficult unconditional surrender can be to put into actual practice.
During years of fear and uncertainty, Roosevelt was uniquely able to lead America's colossal fight against fascism. Now this job will fall to his vice president, Harry Truman.
Mrs. Roosevelt summons Truman to the White House. He says, "Is there anything we can do for you?" And Mrs. Roosevelt says, "No, Harry, is there anything we can do for you? For you are the one in trouble now."